so much harm is caused by people's modern day standards of having education and career and established home and all of that. The reality is that the Prophet ﷺ encouraged youth to get married as quickly as they are able. And if that means that the sister has to move into his parents' house, right, like a wing of their house or something like that, or he has to move in with her family, or that they both live with their own parents and meet up and go on dates together, right, that's better than fornicating. And that's something that we have to understand. We have to understand that as a people. I'd rather these two people, and this is another thing that we have to understand in Islam, is that what non-Muslims call, and Muslims in our society as well now, but what people call dating, that's what we call marriage, right? Everything that they do when they're dating is what we do when we're married, except for them there's no responsibility. There's no responsibility. And so what marriage does is it gives legitimacy and it acknowledges the rights and responsibilities on the spouses. But other than that, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, and that's one of the things that we have this idea of marriage. Oh, when I get married, that means I settle down, life comes to an end, it's I got to move on. No, marriage is when your life starts to flourish, right? Because now you can start to get to enjoy it with, in another realm. It's when you start to grow with another human being. It's when, you start to experience life in a more fuller, richer way. It's cool to go to the beach, to go windsurfing, to go climbing, to go, whatever you might do with your boys. That's cool, right? But it's a whole different experience when you do those things with your wife, And our idea is our wives are supposed to be in the house, and we go out to the masjid and go back home and go to work and go back home. But why can't you go chill with your wife? And so, again, it opens up a whole nother avenue. Again, what other people call dating, that's what we call marriage, And so we have to understand that if we want to protect our youth, then we have to change our perspectives, inshallah. And when I say change our perspectives, I'm not talking about reforming. I'm talking about reviving. Instead of changing into something new, I'm talking about going back. What we see now is new. You have to finish university. That's new. That understanding is new. You have to have a set career. That's new. Show me in history where anybody said you have to have college and career before you're allowed to get married.
They're using the reasoning that he has to be able to provide.
You want to know a secret?
Mm-hmm.
He'll never be able to provide. Allah is the provider. Right? No, it's true, right? Myself, as an example, when I broke my clavicle, right, I couldn't work. I worked, 20 years I worked. I did, I took care of my family and everything else. When the FBI raided my house, right, I got locked up. I couldn't provide for my family. What am I going to do? How am I going to provide for my family? That was the first time I realized we say, well, we're not the provider, Allah is the provider. But when you're in a situation where you literally, something happens to you, what happens if the brother marries her and then gets in a car accident? Does she divorce him because he can't take care of her anymore? Right? We have to understand that where a person is in life today when they get married is not where they're going to be 6 months from now or 6 years from now. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes this person out of the equation, whether that be with a physical disability or, something else happening to them, we have to understand that they're not the provider, and not just that, being married in that journey guides that journey. Right? It guides that journey. So, for example, you're in university now and you get married and you're talking to your wife and she's taking a certain course and you're like, wow, we could do that together. And so you completely change your field of study. That's a good thing, Maybe she's completely against something and you're completely against something. So you guys go into something together and you build your career together in a direction. You see, there's a lot that happens when people get married that if they work together as a partnership, it really transforms your life. And so to say, no, he has to be able to take care of her. I agree he has to be responsible. He has to be able to fulfill her rights. He has to be able to fulfill his responsibilities towards his family. Absolutely. But we have to understand that that doesn't always mean what people think that it means. This is one of the things we talked about, down there in Richmond. I said, keeping your Muslim identity through college. This title insinuates that college is a path that we have to take. And that's just not the case. It's that thinking that we have to break free of, is that there's other ways, and so this is, I understand what they say, I just disagree with them, So, I'm sorry, just long tangent there.
No, that was an amazing response, mashallah. Because I see it all the time when like friends of mine and peers and people in college, they're just like, well, I have a girlfriend because she's there when I need her, and I don't want to have to go to my parents because I know they're going to say wait another 10 years till you're done with dental school and you have a job and residency. So he's like, I'll just have the girl here a while.
Who wants to wait 10 years, right? You're 20 years old, by the time you're 30, your fire is going out a little bit, you know what I mean? It's like you have that energy of youth, right? There's a fire of youth. If you wait until 30, then, you're starting to mellow out. And we might say that's a good thing, but it's not a good... I couldn't imagine, and no, I don't mean any offense to anybody here, so please forgive me. I can't imagine having waited till I was 30 years old to have my first child. What that would mean is that I'd be 50 before my first child was 20, right? How am I going to play with my children? How would I wrestle with him if I'm 50 years old? It's not going to happen.
Actually win for once.
Yeah, don't count. 50 or 60, don't count on it. Wait till I'm 70 or something. But anyway.
I believe in a few years.
Yeah. Jump me. But anyway, so it's a problem because now, you're too old to actually be friends with your children, and this is one of the beauties of my relationship with my oldest son, is he's actually a friend to me. He grew up with me, and it's something. I mean, obviously he's 20 years younger than me, but I'm saying, we played, we hung out together. I was still young and fit, and there's so much that we could do together. And it's the same way, hiking and all these things that we could do that. When you're old and you got a career and you don't have time for that. So you lose out on a lot of things. Your family loses out on a lot of things. So you guys go on vacations and you go on these trips and you go and explore the world now, because when you get married, it's all going to come to an end, right? Well, it's all coming to an end because you're not getting married until you're too old to do these things, right? Get married now. Do these things with your spouse. Do these things with your children. Form memories. Form bonds. Form relationships. Form that love between you and your spouse. That stuff, the brother, actually, just before I came, he asked me in the class before, because we were going over something similar there, he said, what was the age difference? He said, how long was it before the marriage of the Prophet ﷺ and Revelation? How long was it? Right? 15 years. Right? And he didn't elaborate. I answered his question, but he didn't elaborate. And then on the way here, I was dropping him off, he said the reason I asked that question is because maybe the relationship would have been different if they was only married for a year or two. Right? But the fact that they was married for 15 years, it allowed for maturity in their relationship. Right? They had a bond because they had been together for so long that they had a bond. And that's the thing, is that we're not thinking a long term. We're thinking, Allah Akbar. This is a problem. It's a problem. And I could go on all night because it's really a problem in our community. It's a problem for our youth. And it's one of the major causes of sin in our communities. And not just fornication. Fornication is one of them. But alcoholism, depression, all that depression builds. Guys running around, committing crimes. Muslims, committing crimes and things like that because they're lonely, because they're bored, because they need companionship. And they get mixed up with the wrong crowd. These are realities that happen because our youth aren't getting married when they should get married. And it's a problem. And I wish that we could make parents understand this better, inshallah. May Allah guide us. I mean. So, where was it? Oh, the dowry. That's what we talked about. So